Lacey. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. Hey guys, we're going to get started. I'm using the card fronts that were in June's box of the month. You get a sampling of them. Jamie always shows them at the beginning of the month on her channel, so I wanted to give you some ideas on how to use these. I cut out different inverted scallop frames from a die set I have, and I used some nesting rectangle dies too to help cut down to the size that I needed. I used different coordinating colors, so I cut all the frames out in advance, and then some of the colored paper, and then we're going to go ahead and do this together. And I believe most of this, I don't think I have this sped up. I think this isn't real time. So all of these cards I made in like no time. So I'll talk to you about different ways I think that you could step them up if you wanted to add more to them. But I'm just finding a nesting rectangle die that is the same size as the frame. And I like to do this because then I can position the frame where I want, whether it's a card front, pattern paper, a image I colored, and I want to cut down just a section. That frame allows me to, that nested rectangle die allows me to move it on different portions of the card and then position it where I want it and then take it to my die cutting machine so I know exactly where it's going to cut. But you could use a paper trimmer like I showed in the beginning. That's why that was brought out, but I do bring that in for other portions of it. But this I prefer if I've got a nesting rectangle die that'll fit behind a die. I try to use that to position to cut out my image. And these were all really just soft. They're soft because they almost look like they're oil paintings to me. That's what these remind me of, these different card fronts. And so soft in that sense. The colors are kind of bright and bold, but they're still soft in a way, if that makes sense. And I already have card bases that I cut down and make myself, so they're all pre-cut and scored and folded. And on this one, we're just going to take the exact size of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 colored cardstock to coordinate with the card front. I'm going to go ahead and pop this panel up, just the portion with the frame and the card front, and then that way it gives a little extra interest. I can't recall, is this, no, this is in real time too. It looked a little sped up to me, but it's not. So this video is a little bit longer because we put the majority of these together. The different styles I put together, but I don't, if I repeated the same style, I didn't put it together on camera for you. So I think we put together 3 or 4 cards. And then we're also going to create that box, and it doesn't require any special dies to hold this card set. So that's what I wanted to do with it. I wanted to create a card set that I could give as a gift. And I think another way you could add something to these cards if you wanted to is you could add enamel dots. Jamie's got some great ones. I used all mine up on my other projects, so I'll have to get more that matched these card fronts really well. And if I remember, I'll try to link everything below. And I had to stand up. Sorry if my sweater gets in the way a bit, to try to make sure, instead of sticking my head in the frame, to get it lined up evenly. So if you wanted to, maybe you want to add glossy accents to maybe the portion of the flip-flops that go over your foot, you know, where you put your toes. I don't know what that part's called. I'm just taking a piece of that scrap paper, the paper that was left behind from that, and we're going to glue it on the inside just to do something a little extra with it. Now you could cut different shapes down to go on the inside of the card. So maybe you have, like, even just taking one of, if you've got a nesting rectangle die set, taking one of those and cutting it down where it fits on the inside of the card. I know Lynn's one with she's got a few different sets. There's different shapes in it that you could use to cut out and add it to the inside of the card as well. Now this one I just take the entire card front panel. We're going to glue it to the card base, and then we're going to add a frame floating on the center portion of it. And if you wanted to, with the stamp sets in the box of the month, you could add it to the inside of these cards, or on the outside if you wanted to. And if you want to keep the pattern of the card front showing through, you could use some vellum like I did in my video earlier this month. But that would soften the entire background or card panel as well. But you could do different things with it. You could stamp it on the inside as well. I like to leave a lot of times the inside of my cards blank. I will decorate them sometimes, but I won't add sentiments because depending on the occasion, then it can be used for whatever. And that's part of the reason I chose to keep the sentiments off of these, is because they can be used, if you're gifting them to somebody, they can use them for whatever occasion they want. I'm just trying to use up my little bits of the foam tape. This is very like fine foam tape, like thin, and I love it for these frames. It fits perfectly behind it. And if you have nesting dies, like the rectangles, and you don't have a frame die, you can nest the two sizes you want together, use washi tape, and then cut out a frame that way as well. And I like to put glue on the back of foam tape if I need some wiggle room, and especially on these frames because they're thinner, they can kind of shift and get wonky. So it's a good idea if you're doing that to add glue. Or you could just wing it. Because no matter what, it's a handmade card, so even if it is a little wonky, it doesn't matter. That adds to part of the charm, right? See, I'm trying to adjust that a bit. And there's that one. And I can't remember what I did with this one. I think we just take this one, and because of this frame here, if I just laid it on the white card base, it would have had a little bit of the white peeking through where the scallops come in. So I'm trimming about 1/8 of an inch off of the top and the side. And I realized here that I didn't quite get that. I think I got like a 1/16 of an inch. I had to go back in and trim a little bit more off. But if you have these frames, then you just trim down the excess. And I bought these in Jamie's store a long time ago. I don't think they're available anymore. I'll have to look and see. I didn't look prior to this voiceover. And then because I trimmed down the card base, you got to trim down the card front as well. And then you get to decide, do you want to what side do you want to take it off of? Do you want to take a little bit off of every side and then go from there? And I think this one's sped up to 2 times because I'm looking at it doesn't look smooth, so maybe I double timed it all. I thought I could see in the beginning of this editing, like you guys need to know that, but hey, there it is. So this is either real time or double time, so they actually came together pretty quickly, either way. To make a box and essentially, what are there, 6 cards here? And it was probably maybe 30-40 minutes. It might have taken a little bit longer because I cut all the frames out and finding the colors that I wanted, picking that stuff out. But the actual assembly was no more than 30 minutes. This one I'm just gluing flat to the card. And you'll see that that white card base doesn't show out through it because we trimmed off the little bit of excess. And that Barely Art glue gives a little bit of wiggle room. If you've used art glitter glue, it dries quicker. The Barely Art glue just stays wet a hair longer. And so you get to move it a bit. And I realized that the glue had dried dried a little bit too much, and so I added a little bit more. And I really liked this one with the girls sitting there with their feet resting in the water. They're sitting on like a log and or a fallen tree, and their feet rested down in the sand with the waves splashing on it. I decided to trim off of the top of the clouds a little bit so that their feet would show through at the bottom, because that was part of what I liked about it. And you could put the sentiment like, let me get the stamp set. The drink in my hand, toes in the sand, that would be really cute to put on this card. And if you didn't want to cover up, because that's a larger sentiment, you could just put it on the inside, and you could cut it out of some Cornerian cardstock and even heat emboss it in white. That would be pretty to bring the white of the waves into the inside of the card with maybe that darker pink that we're going to layer up on the outside. And this one I decided to pop up. So this is a larger frame. This, when you cut out these frames in this set, it cuts out 2 at a time. So the one that's on the outside and the one that's smaller on the inside that faces inward. So you get a twofer. And so I'm just going to pop this one up on some foam tape, use some glue, same thing. And if you wanted to add a little bit of like glitter glue to the flowers or the centers of the flowers, that would be really pretty. Even maybe some of a shimmer pin on the waves, that would add a little bit of interest so that, you know, when it gets moved in the light, some, you know, people will notice that. I decided to keep it simple. I thought those clouds were really pretty on this card too. I don't know why I didn't cut this part out, you guys, now that I'm doing the voiceover. But I think it was just because I wanted to keep the majority of the footage in there to show you how quickly they come together. Do you enjoy the card fronts? Do you enjoy these being able to put together a card very quickly? It's got to be really nice for when you want to send out a last minute card or just need a card. You can put it together really quickly. You can use different die cuts to cut down and make them different shapes and add a little bit of extra to them, or just glue it to the card and go with just that. They're so pretty. You could even frame these. Like you could frame them and hang them up like on a grid. That would be pretty too. So here we're going to make the box. So you're going to have to determine what size you want your box to be. With all these cards and the envelopes and the foam tape, I took the size of the card and added 2 inches. So I believe it was 6 1/4 by 7 1/2. And then I cut 2 of those. And then I'm going to bring my scoreboard in. And we're going to score these at 3/4 of an inch all the way around. Now, if you want your box needs to be a little bit deeper because maybe your cards are thicker, or if you need it to be a little bit thinner, you just take the size of your card and then you're going to add whatever you need. All these cards stacked on top of each other were just about 1 inch. So adding the 2 inches and then scoring at 3/4 left a 1 1/8 or 1 1/4 inch height. So it was enough for mine. So you'll have to figure out the math for yourself. But if you don't add any foam tape, I think just adding this size would work too. And so I scored it all the way around, and as you can see, I'm cutting in from the outside into the line of the score line on the long sides, and then I notched all those. I went ahead and cut down a piece of the pattern paper from, I believe that's called Pink Summer. Pink Summer. It was one that went fairly well with the card fronts in color. And then I used a leftover frame, and we're going to assemble this all together. So I'm taking my bone folder, folding down those score marks. I use liquid glue. If you have tear tape or score tape or whatever form of adhesive you prefer, use that. Those tapes will set up immediately, where the glue, I like the wiggle room. And then you'll have to determine what the center portion size of your box is and then cut that down to whatever size. And I can't remember. I kind of finished with it, and I cut part of it out because I was trying to get it lined up just right and not shove my head in the camera. And then here's where we're going to glue the different tabs together so that we can create the lid. And you could do this out of color cardstock. If you have some 12 by 12 cardstock that matches, you could do that. I thought it was neat to incorporate the pattern paper and ephemera with it. And if you made different cards with the pattern paper and ephemera, you can make a whole set to go in this box and then decorate it with whatever paper pad you used and ephemera. We're going to glue the bottom together same way, but we're just not going to embellish it. If you wanted to, you know what you could do if you wanted to make this more of a gift type thing, is you could stamp out the different sentiments, cut them out of different die cut shapes so that the recipient can take it and glue those into the inside of the card or the front of the card or however they want it, if you're giving this as a gift. I'll have to do that. An afterthought. So we're using the pink summer ephemera. And here you're going to see me decide what I want to put on the front of it. And I'm trying to think about the different card fronts in the box. And I thought, well, let's use the beach theme since they're all beach theme. And then I brought in the ephemera from last month. I don't even know if I have that out anymore. It was the one for the fairies. It is called Secret Fairy Grove. That's where I got that sun from. So don't be afraid to pull out your product that you already have to combine with the new product. Jamie does a really good job of coordinating everything. And so look and see what you have. If you've got previous releases, subscriptions, and incorporate them with your new ones. We're going to pop this frame up just because I wanted to add a little bit more interest to the front of the box. And you could leave it without the frame, but I just thought it tied in well with the cards on the inside. And if I'd picked this all out in the beginning, I would have done it before gluing it and just kept it flat and then glued the sides in, but you know, gotta roll with it. You could also take one of those big sentiments from the stamp sets and put it on the front as well. You could put summer, 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 baby. I could put hello, summer. Let the summer fun begin. Every summer has a story. That would be a cool one to put on it. What's on the other one? As we're putting this together. Sunrise, sunburn, sunset, repeat. That one could work too. Drink in my hand, toes in the sand. Any of these would really work if you wanted to add that to the front of the box. So here's the finished box. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you each one of the cards that we put together and the insides. Some of them have embellishments, some of them don't. And then I'll show you that I had some coordinating envelopes that I put in there as well. I really like the seashell one. And these ones with the girls And the other one with a girl with her hair blowing in the wind that's coming up. I really like that image there. That reminds me of my daughter. It's about the color of her hair, except her hair is curly. This is a really neat one too. There's like a little beach house there in the background. And I took that piece from the other card. See that one there with the beach? And then these I thought matched pretty well with the card fronts. They were in my stash. Use whatever you have. And there they are. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Bye.